I think they've now begun.
Okay, the recording. Thank you, my sister, for bringing this back to us. Thank you, my sister. Thank you.
I think they said yes.
Okay, they've said yes. Yes. Okay, all right. So as I was saying, so recording has started now.
So Madam Chair, you have to now rewind. Sorry, my sister.
I have to start from the beginning. I have said that we are not taking it for granted that the organizers of the Nigerian Internet Governance Forum 2021 is giving us another platform to discuss as women. And so for that, we recognize them and say thank you very much. And we want to recognize other protocols. Everyone that is here is a VIP, but I want to recognize distinguished speakers and paper presenters, especially the keynote presenter. Thank you very much, Ma, for accepting to do this for us. You look at our team, and we're looking at women patriarchy and the digital inequality, a look at global effort to bridge the gender digital divide. I am glad that the Victory Women IGF is on its second year and being part of the NIGF. Please pardon me if I'm not showing my face because of the bandwidth issues. I don't want to break. So thank you to Dr. Wizit. Though a man had consistently taken the advocacy for women in Nigeria for connectivity of women to the internet, safety of women online, to advocate for women to be digitally inclusive in the new world order of the new normal. You know, we have the new normal and everything has moved on to the
I think we've lost the sound from our speaker.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you still hear me, please? I'm sorry,
yes,
one of my devices. Okay, so I'm going to leave one and see whether the other one can be better.
Recording in progress.
Okay, now I can speak. Oh my God, I'm really very sorry. That's one of the things we have been suffering on internet connectivity, and that's why I'm not even showing my face. Please, if you can hear me, I'm very, very sorry. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Please, if you can hear me, let me know, please.
We can hear you now.
All right then. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you. My devices are messing me up, but I will overcome them. So I was saying that we are taking a look today at the inclusion of women in the digital economy. What is going to happen at the global level? So gender access to the internet is at the heart of the organizers of IGF at global level, whether at the global level, the continental level, and regional level. At the global level is the UN IGF, and women access is very, very, hot topic. And at African Union level, even when a training is called, the application, they give preference to women to join in application, especially on internet governance. And at West African level, we have been encouraging women to be part of it, to tackle digital divide. That is gender, youth, people living with disability, location of your location might equally hinder your being connected or level in life. So these are things that are very, very pertinent to us at the global IGF or at the continental IGF, and at the regional IGF, that is West Africa. For us in West Africa and NIGF, we are also concerned with making gender balance in organization, whether we're the organizers, we try to make sure there's gender balance. We are also trying to make sure that women participate a lot. And we are also concerned about connectivity by women for women. So women should also be in the forefront of advocating for it. So we thank Wisely for giving us this, for consistently advocating for women digital inclusion. You are all welcome to the 2021 Nigeria Internet Governance Forum. Please make your voices heard, make them heard, and provide some solutions for the problems being faced by women in Nigeria, in particular, and in West Africa in general, on internet access and digital inclusion. Thank you for inviting me, and have a great outing today. Thank you. And I'm sorry for the glitches we had at the beginning. And I now hand over to YZ to continue the welcome and invite the keynote speaker. Thank you very much, everyone. You are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Mary, for the welcome address. I would like to join your voice in welcoming all of us to this event. As you said, the internet discussion generally features the voice of women at very, very low level. And I think that it's time that the voice of women, particularly in Nigeria, and by extension, Africa, should be loud and very clear, because they are major stakeholders in the use of the internet. Every user is a major stakeholder, because the internet cannot exist without users. It is made for the users, not just for the companies that provide channels and so forth. Over there, that we've been concerned at CTAT with the issue of gender inclusion. We found that it's not just that a few women who are engaged in shaping the internet, in shaping policies that relate to the internet, but in actual fact, even in the use of the internet, there are fewer women compared to men in the country. Although there is no hard statistics, samples across different stratas indicate that women are far left behind, and that a lot has to be done to address that problem. We recognize today that internet is a major tool for citizens to access education. It's a major tool for citizens to participate in governance and decision-making processes. It's a major tool for the actualization of the right to freedom of information, to receive and to disseminate information and opinion. And even more recently, we've realized that the people who have no access to internet are identity excluded, meaning that they can't have identity. As we've seen of recent, that people have to register SIM card and so forth. And the danger is that if you have no identity, it means you can't travel, it means you can't sit for examinations, it means that you are outside of public decisions data. And since policy making speaks about data, speaks for those who are captured, it means that those who are identity excluded are also excluded from policy making and from the benefits of policies. This is why we think it's very critical for us to address what are the key factors that inhibit the effective utilization of the internet by women and girls. What are the factors that inhibit the participation of women in forums that try to shape the internet and its policies? We know that there are quite a number of challenges. Some of them are cultural and to some extent even religious. But this can be deconstructed. Solutions are preferred for them. In today's forum, our focus is really looked at those inhibitors. What can we do? How do we identify them? And what can we do to address them so that when next is the Nigerian Internet Governance Forum, the need for a women-specific internet would have been overcome, because we hope to see more women participating at the national level, and that would render the women internet of no value. And so I once again welcome all of us. I hope that it will be a very rich discussion, a discussion that will lead to solutions and not just about us talking and celebrating ourselves and go back home and come back next time to think about the same problems. I'm not sure that I can see Marwan on the list. She's supposed to give us the lead address. Marwan is supposed to join us from Morocco. I'm not sure whether she's been able to do so. So I think what we'll do is to simply go ahead with the first panel session. And if at any time Marwan is able to join us, we can create space for her to deliver her keynote address. And so with the permission of Madam Mary, I would like to invite the chair of the first panel, which is on the challenges of mainstreaming women in the digital economy. And will be moderated by our sister, Dr. Amina Salihu of Makata Foundation, Abuja. Dr. Amina, over to you. Then you can introduce the three speakers in your panel.
Many thanks indeed, my dear big brother, Malum Waizi Yao. Madam Chair, distinguished colleagues on the call, thank you very much for the opportunity of this conversation today. And it's an honor to be moderating a panel of youthful powerhouses, so to say. And when you hear them speak, you understand why they are a powerhouse, each one of them. For this first panel, as you've heard, on the challenges of mainstreaming women in the digital economy, the time budget that I have is 55 minutes. I don't think that has changed because on the agenda, it's 55 minutes that we have. So I would like to suggest that we give 10 minutes each to our three panelists. That takes 30 minutes away. And then we take the next 20 minutes for interactions and Q&A, and then 5 minutes to close. First up is a super sister of mine, a friend, a co-traveler. She's done amazing work in using infographics, in democratizing the digital space and ensuring that voices that might be forgotten, like has been said today, are not only remembered, but are centered. And it becomes very important, therefore, to listen to her speak to us this morning on the challenges to women's participation in the digital economy, mainstreaming women in that same economy. So my sister Chioma Agwego of TechHa NG Abuja, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. I think this is the most important conversation, and it is my honor and privilege to have been invited to say a few words. Thank you very much to Dr. Amina Salihu, whose life goal, I believe, is platforming young women like myself and ensuring that our voices are heard or are brought into rooms where they are supposed to be. A very big thank you also to Dr. YZ Yao of CITAD and everyone else who's on the call today. I work with TechHa NG. TechHa is a community of learning, support, and collaboration for women who are navigating technology and all things digital. Essentially, what we exist to do is to simplify technology and simplify everything, within the digital sphere for women and for girls. And we do this across three major strands. The first of them is digital literacy. And we have a digital literacy project that's currently in 10 schools, 10 local education authority schools in Abuja. And we also now have an MOU signed with the Nasarawa State University to also take digital skills to that university. We also have a community strand that focuses on bringing women together, whether it is via a self-defense class, which Dr. Amina has graciously supported in the past, whether it is via coffee and circumvention sessions where women learn about digital security, etc. And we have a tech for governance strand, which is what we're known for the most. And this strand focuses on the platforming of women's voices, the amplification of women's voices, but also And we found that this can be done across two very specific segments. And the first of them is sexual and gender-based violence, where we've done a considerable amount of work, but also, like I mentioned, platforming women's voices around politics and public life. So let's get into the topic today, which is challenges to women participation in the digital economy and mainstreaming women in technology. And I'll start by using myself and just using myself as an anecdote. When I was younger, I was in a family, or I still belong to a family, where my father believed that everybody could do everything that they wanted to do, and there were no limitations, and there shouldn't have been anything stopping both the girls and my brother from doing anything that we wanted to do. And so at different points in my life, I wanted to be a truck driver. I still think I will be a truck driver at some point. I wanted to make beads for a living, and my father paid for me to go to learn how to do that. I wanted to be a chef. I remember when I was getting my master's degree in social media from Birmingham City University, I was cooking for people in my church, and it was a source of income for me. Point I'm trying to make is I was allowed to do anything I wanted to do. I had the opportunity of a good education. And then, of course, coming into the workforce, I have also had the privilege of being exposed to a number of really great collaborators, but also mentors and people who have gone ahead of me. If we take me and if we take my story and place it within Nigeria, you have side by side that at this time, over 10 million people, 10 million children that are out of school. And these are numbers from 2018, 2019, that do not account for the pandemic and the exacerbated gaps in education and just allowing children to be children. So we had over 10 million children out of school from 2018, 2019. Over 60% of this number are girls. Fast forward 10 years, we're going to have an illiterate population that starts from at least 10 million. So if you're thinking about the population of Nigeria in 10 years, you have at least 10 million children without the benefit of an education, without the benefit of the most basic of platforms to start their lives. And so when we talk about, we want Nigerians to compete across global platforms, we first have to think about what have we given them to compete? Right? So we all know that access to technology and the internet, and Madam Mary mentioned that access to technology and the internet is disproportionately, placed against women. Women and girls trail behind in acquiring critical enablement, guaranteeing full participation in a digitized economy. When girls talk about wanting to study technologically related subjects, they are seen as wanting to be manly. And whether we like it or not, they are patriarchal systems that we ignore because they don't appear serious, but they end up really affecting, the psyche of young girls, and therefore, or consequently, dictating the careers that they decide to go into. And so you have things like, the access to requisite digital skills, career opportunities in the tech space, digital-driven entrepreneurship, and leadership positions in the digital economy, systematically lopsided in favor of men. We have a few unicorns, though, and I must speak of Odun Eweni of PiggyVest. She's one of the very few female founders of a unicorn in Nigeria. PiggyVest, as we all know, is a savings platform, run by young people, for predominantly young people, with investments and with deposits running in billions of naira. But how many PiggyVests do we have? How many Oduns do we have? As history has shown, and it's important to look at the relationship Nigeria has with its women, because you cannot pull something out of nothing. So Nigeria has shown that it has an awful past, has an awful relationship with its women, whether it's cultural or religious impediments that continue to pose hurdles for women, or it is like I mentioned, the patriarchal systems that shut us down, the patriarchal systems that mean that women's voices are not allowed to be, we're not allowed to be loud, we're not allowed to be visible. When a woman talks about, oh, I have this amount of money, or I'm thinking about these types of advancements, the questions become, who is going to marry her if she has so much money? If she has these many accolades to her name, who is going to think she will still be able to submit? And these are things that, as we think about increasing the number of women who take on technology, the number of women who go into technology-based careers, we really need to think about, are we creating or availing them of an environment or a society that allows them to do and be whatever it is that they want to be? As we know, back to my notes. Women are fundamental to any nation's socioeconomic and political development. And so leveraging that potential by providing them with digital skills and opportunities will lead to a developmental revolution and a massive leap towards women empowerment. To move very quickly to solutions, I think I have about 5 minutes left. What should we think about as we go forward? I think Dr. Wisey had said we don't want to finish the conversations today and then come back next year to talk about the same thing. So what can we do, those of us on this call, people in places of authority? Discrimination based on digital tools and skills must not be allowed in any form. If anything, women should be prioritized mainly because they're already far behind. And this is one of the things that we do at TechHub, ensuring that we can reach out to marginalized women, ensuring that we can reach out to vulnerable children, ensuring that even when there is no electricity present, we are able to create, simple, innovative tools that teach children the basics of technology. Things like, so that's number one. Number two, online violence, biases, and stereotypes, which are responsible for exacerbating the digital gender divide, must be fought headlong. And this is one of the reasons why when Facebook reached out to me much earlier in the year to invite me to join a working group of African women working around technological gender-based violence, I accepted with all my heart, because we can't be telling women to come online, to get on board the digital train, to explore tech careers, and then they're faced with violence, they're faced with abuse, they're faced with all sorts of things, from deep fakes to the to the manipulation of their photographs, sometimes the release of nude intimate photographs of them. All of these types of things, or when a woman speaks about something, she's shut down, she's trolled. Sometimes we see even women's house addresses being put online. And this happened to a friend of mine last year because somebody didn't believe in her. When we do those types of things, we chase the people we're supposed to be attracting to technological spaces. The other thing to mention, so this is my number 3, there must be increased collaboration between public and private sector stakeholders towards advancing gender equality and women empowerment. And so I guess it's for us to say, and maybe this is a recommendation that this body wants to make to the private sector. What are you strategically and intentionally doing to ensure that you can increase the number of women, if not anything, within the ICT department in your organization? We start from there. What are you doing to ensure that you have a pipeline that draws in women who will feed your ICT sector or that will feed your ICT department? These simple things have a great way of ensuring that from the universities, there's a lot more demand for young women who have technological skills. The fourth thing I have on my list is to encourage young women and girls to pursue studies and careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. And I must be very clear that it's not enough to encourage them. It's not enough to say, go and study technological courses. It's not enough to say, we need more women. What are we doing to put money behind that we need? What are we doing to put resources behind the needs that we say we have? Where are the technical colleges? Are the technical colleges equipped with the resources that are needed? I got my first degree in mass communication in Nigeria, and we had a compulsory course on computer science, and we didn't have one computer. Yes, this was far back 2002, but have the circumstances changed so much since then, especially for public universities? So the question comes back to, how do we encourage young women and girls, but not only encouraging them, how do we resource that encouragement to ensure that they have these opportunities? Finally, and this is going to be both a hindrance, but also an opportunity. The most significant, hindrance is the absence of role models. I talked about Odun from Piggyvest and mentioned that how many of her exist? How many Funke Obekes exist? How many Omobola Johnsons exist, right? If young women and their families do not see other women in these roles, it becomes challenging for them to contemplate applying for training courses. Therefore, role models are essential to encouraging women to aspire for and embrace the benefits of economic digitization. And I'll end with another anecdote from my life. I remember when I was going to study social media for a master's degree in the UK in 2011. My father's friend said to him that he was going to be spending pounds for his daughter to study Facebook. And I remember that we had to have almost like a huge argument, but then I had to explain to him that this is why I'm studying this thing. The revolution you're seeing, the Arab Spring you're seeing coming out of Tunisia and Egypt, it is this social media thing that they're using to do it, and I want to understand it. Fast forward 2020, fast forward 2021. Everything that has to do with digital or technology around my parents, they will say, oh, go and talk to Chioma about it. When my niece and nephew are coming to hang out at my place, my father keeps saying, expose them to those computer things so that they can learn and be like you. And this just, I mean, this is our simple small family, but it goes to show where you have one light go ahead, it creates so many more opportunities for other lights to bloom and to shine. So thank you very much. And I'm going to look forward to the questions and the discussion segment. Thank you very much again.
Absolutely brilliant, my sister Chioma. Thank you so very much for such an incredible expository submission. And never mind Chioma's bio on the screen. I think that's more important than my bio at this hour. Thank you very much. As you can see, she's got ample experience demystifying tech for women. And she serves on the board of Red Media Africa, Plan International, Nigeria, and Oxfam International. Thank you so much, my sister Chioma. I have a question for you that I want you to hold on to as I call on the next panelist. And I hear you, especially on your last point about role models. And my question is this, because of the fact that women have had a late start in tech, and so it's more difficult to find, you know, the Oduns of this world, or even the Chiomas of this world, to handhold others. How do we ensure that as we are creating awareness and agency amongst young girls and even young boys, they themselves believe in themselves and they see themselves as the future role models? In other words, do we need to create our own role models because there aren't that many, and because it's in the nature of tech to be very collegial anyways, as it is? So I want you to hold on to this thought, because I'm going to be asking you to help speak to it later. And for now, distinguished colleagues, let me invite my second panelist. CTAD is an incredible organization, absolutely one that should be celebrated, not just on the continent, but globally. Our chair, Madam Mary Udoma, has referenced the fact that, you know, CTAD is led by a male change champion who has been unrelenting on the matters of women's human rights. And so when I saw Zainab Aminu listed to talk about combating online gender violence as the key to enhancing women's participation in the digital economy, I was very excited, because I know she's going to come with all of that culture, all of that learning, and amazing insights, which we actually need today. So my sister, Zainab Aminu, it's an honor to invite you to speak. As you can see, her bio is also on the screen: research consultant and entrepreneur. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Hajamia. Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
participants. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about combating online gender violence as key to enhancing women participation in the digital economy. So as we all know, gender-based violence online is targeted harassment and prejudice through technology against people, disproportionately women, based on their gender. So, and online harassment, cyberbullying, cybersexism, a lot of online violence, including sexual media, posting of non-consensual information of people on social media, threats, doxing, impersonation, hacking, spamming, tracking and surveillance, malicious sharing of intimate messages and photos, cyber stalking and harassment, and gender-based discriminatory names and posts, among other things. Online gender-based violence is not something new, and it has a lot of impacts on the women gender, especially on the women gender. The impact of gender-based violence on victims includes, but are not limited to, reputational damage, mental illness, physical and medical issues, disruptions to a victim's living situation, invasion of privacy, silencing or withdrawal from the online environment, and damage to personal relationships. A lot of women that face online gender violence end up self-censoring themselves. Even if the victim does not completely withdraw from social media and public appearances, they may opt to keep a low profile to avoid drawing any attention and thereby furthering the violence. And this could entail less frequent posts on social media, blogging about less controversial topics, and not even interacting with other users as much. In the case of female journalists, politicians, and other public figures, this can remove female voices and opinions when covering certain topics. And it's the impact for women when it comes to withdrawal from society. They try to preserve their safety, their mental well-being, and careers. They delete their social media accounts and even physically move to other locations if their addresses have been posted in public forum. Withdrawal from online spaces prevent women from exercising their right to freedom of expression. And it's also the part of also subduing participation in democratic life. Women that are abused online, targeted women that were abused online, and minority groups in politics have the effect of dissuading these politicians from running again. And other potential participants also find it difficult to run at all. This wasn't an already present gender disparity in political representation. Impacts such as those outlined that I've discussed above can result in significant costs for victims, for example, the cost of their healthcare services, damaged career prospects, job loss, and time taken off work. The impact of cyber violence appears to differ according to victims' gender. A study conducted by Pew Research earlier last year revealed that 38% of harassed women find their most recent experience with online harassment extremely or very upsetting, compared to only 17% of the harassed men. Compared to male users who tend to be more concerned about damage to their reputation, females are more likely to fear physical harm. This corresponds to the nature of online abuse these groups experience. When men and boys are more likely to be victims of defamation and libel, women are more likely to be subjected to derogatory remarks or sexual images and threats, such as non-consensual pornography. While particular variables influence victimization risks among females, virtually none of the variables in the analysis produce statistically significant relationships with victimization among males. A key distinction between offline and online gender-based cyber violence is that it is significantly more difficult to permanently remove abusive or triggering content from the internet, which obliges the survivor to experience their victimization all over again. This can exacerbate the psychological impact of these forms of violence, such as the flashback of incidents and or perpetrator, as well as the increase of victims' isolation period. This may make it harder for victims to move on and escape the situation. So it's important to know that while the immediate impact of these forms of cyber violence may differ, the longer term impacts are ultimately similar. Gender-based cyber violence in any form can cause intense emotional distress, from increased anxiety to depression, self-doubt, isolation, loneliness, and shame. And psychological distress can manifest physically, which decreases sleep and appetites. It also causes substance abuse, headaches, and even skin problems. These personal struggles can then affect interpersonal relationships, placing strain on loved ones who are indirectly affected by victims' distress. While victims may withdraw from social engagements and trust others less, both online and offline. An additional caveat is that a perpetrator or group of perpetrators can employ any number and combination of forms of violence toward the victim, and therefore pinpointing disparate impacts can yield more key results. So what are the impacts to women and girls when they experience violence online? The greatest impact that we are experiencing is self-censorship. Women start censoring themselves online, and that is what the abusers want. Online violence attempts to keep women from a major sector of the public sphere. The public only takes physical violence seriously just because it's online doesn't make the violence any less harmful. Some women can even leave online platform after being harassed. So when people self-censor themselves, the fundamental right to freedom of information is under attack. Online violence is a public health issue, and the effects are very detrimental. It results in physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm and erodes self-esteem. So I would advise that, first of all, I would advise that women take gender digital safety as a priority. Digital security is the protection of someone's identity online. So gender digital security includes training women and girls to protect themselves as they are most vulnerable group online. I want women and girls to know that they are part of the social media and the internet, and it is their right to be online. There are tools and tips that can help us be safe For example, Instagram, they recently added a tool, restrict anti-bullying tool that is available to everyone, because nobody should push you offline, off the online platform, nobody. So some of the basic digital security tips I would advise is for people to create strong passwords, and they should have different passwords for different accounts. They should only download apps from authentication platforms and use two-factor authentication. That's if you're using both fingerprint and PIN or password and another kind of authentication. And whenever anybody is leaving the online platform, the internet, log out of all your accounts. And also, I would advise that people should not use public Wi-Fi for sharing sensitive information, like any kind of information that is sensitive, both your personal and professional details when using public Wi-Fi. And they should use antivirus software if possible to block any virus that is trying to attack them through the internet. So gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, it is also a keystone of a prosperous modern economy that provides sustainable inclusive growth. Recognizing that gender equality is essential for ensuring that men and women can contribute fully to the betterment of societies and economies at large. It's very, very important for us to find a framework that would protect gender, that will protect the female gender from online harassment and online gender violence. Today, the digital transformation provides new avenues for the economic empowerment of women and can contribute to greater gender equality. The internet, digital platforms, mobile phones, and digital financial services offer leapfrog opportunities for all and can help bridge the divide by giving women the possibility to earn additional income, increase their employment opportunities, and access knowledge and general information. We need to seize this opportunity to foster greater gender equality in the labor market, boost economic growth, and build a more inclusive digital world. The road ahead is uphill. Today, worldwide, some 327 million fewer women than men have a smartphone and can access the mobile internet. Women are underrepresented in ICT jobs, top management and academic careers, and men are 4 times more likely
It's either my data or Zainab's data, but I'm not sure if we can hear her well at this point.
It's probably Zainab.
Yeah, but I think she's, oh dear. She's made very valid and cogent points, and she's about at the hour anyways. So my sister Zainab, in case you can hear us, we can't hear you very well, but your points have been well noted. Thank you very much. And we're going to be returning to you. I have a question for you, but I need to be sure you're back and you can hear. So if you can drop something in the chat. Excellent. Thank you so very much. Thank you. So I would like to ask, because of the point you made about those tips that you're sharing, and this is just a question for you to note. When we open the floor, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
Would it be strategic for CTAD to create a kind of resource or a manual that we can use to engage women and girls and even boys online in terms of what you need to know before you begin to engage digitally? And is it a strategic thing to do to also engage curriculum at the schools? It's not too early.
Sorry, I lost you again.
All right, I'll repeat that later. Let me save time. I can always repeat it later when we come to question and answers. Don't worry. Let me go on to our third speaker, because I'm also conscious of time that we have left. But thank you very much, my sister Zainab. Thank you. Let me invite the third powerhouse that we have on the call. The Center for Democracy and Development is an organization where many of us have caught our activist teeth. Some of us were pioneers when the whole idea of a CDD started. And today it's become a household name, not just in terms of democracy and development or expanding the civic space, but also paying attention to something that we haven't talked much about. And it's the dimension of misinformation and disinformation and fake news, as it were. And today, Hamza Ibrahim is going to be speaking to, you know, a poser. Do women suffer misinformation on the net? This is the question he's going to be attempting to answer today, and it's coming from the Country Misinformation Group of the CDD in Abuja. And I'm hoping that we can have Hamza's profile on the screen as well, if admin can put that up, because I still see my sister Zainab's profile. But be that as it may, yes, thank you very much. Welcome, my brother Hamza. It's good to have you on the call. Researcher, conflict mitigation expert. You have your 10 minutes, which starts now.
Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants. I must say I'm very happy to be here this morning, rather not afternoon, to speak actually on the topic, do women suffer misinformation on the net? And of course, listen to several other topics to be deliberated over the course of this year's Nigeria Internet Governance Forum. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Dr. Amina, you're both a teacher and a mentor. So basically, I think since I have 10 minutes, I have to really make good use of the time to be able to share with you some thoughts I have around misinformation, you know, targeting women on the net. Host, could you allow me to share my screen briefly?
That should be possible. Can you try? I think all speakers are co-hosts. Yes,
yes, I think so. So can you see my screen? Sorry.
Yes, it's coming up. If you can put it in the presentation mode.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, I'm going to speak on the topic, do women suffer misinformation on the net? Before I do that, I would like you to briefly have a look at this, this picture on the screen, and then I'll come back to talk about it briefly, but I'll just say, I'll read the caption. It's a screenshot of story published by one of the online newspapers, and the caption, as you can see, says, Aisha abandoned as Buhari said to marry another wife as first lady on Friday. Which Friday? We don't know yet. So the misinformation, disinformation are two concepts that actually fall under the umbrella of fake news. So briefly, disinformation refers to false narratives, false or misleading narratives that are spread specifically with the intent to deceive. While the other concept, which is misinformation, is also refers to false or misleading narratives that are spread knowingly or without any intent. So just a slight difference between the two. The first is really there is the specific intent to deceive, while the second actually lacks that very element. So why do we have misinformation targeting women online, on and on? So I said, okay, the net, which is actually a blessing, particularly to us at this very century, I said is too accommodating, flexible, and resilient. For me, this is actually attributes that are not negative. They are positive, but they are being taken for granted. The fact that the net is too accommodating, it is too flexible, it is too resilient, we have some people making use of it in a very negative manner. And then, so who are actually the purveyors of the women-centered misinformation? The purveyors, as can be seen on the screen, the first purveyor are YouTube channel owners and managers. Now, we have lots of thousands or millions rather of YouTube channels, owners, managers making actually much money, you know, by making all sorts of posts, crafting all sorts of stories and all that. And then of course, Facebook groups and pages also among the, you know, peddlers. Now bloggers, which are so prominent in terms of misinformation and disinformation peddling. Online newspaper publishers are also not left out of the list. And of course, other influencers on different social media platforms. So basically these 4 categories, there may be others, but these 4 categories plus the 4th category are really the purveyors of fake news, disinformation, misinformation, and particularly targeting women. Now I said, okay, why do they do so? Why the need for use of misinformation targeting women or other people actually arise? 2 reasons. There could be other reasons, but these two reasons are actually very, very important and are key as far as misinformation and disinformation peddling on the net is concerned. Of course, the peddlers want to generate revenue because people are now aware that once you have certain views, particularly on YouTube, you stand a chance of getting, money. So this is a money-making stuff. The second thing is also followership establishment. Of course, even before you stand the chance of getting money or generating money, there has to be the followership. If you don't have much followership, it means you stand at the risk of not actually generating a high number of views. So these 2 issues are actually the 2 encouraging factors that are fueling misinformation centered around women. And of course, I said, okay, who are the categories of women that are mostly targeted with misinformation narratives? And of course, I said, well, number 1 is politicians, women politicians, celebrities, students, business women, and other career women and successful women out there. So I want to go back to the first slide I showed, which I think can give more information about what I am talking about. You see, I think in the last 2 years, there hasn't been any instance of misinformation that has targeted a woman, that has gone viral, that has generated millions of engagement online on the net, except than the saga of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs getting married to President Buhari. You could remember in October 2019, there was a viral story that President Buhari was getting married to Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management Minister Sadia Farouk on Friday, which Friday, the Friday we are yet to know. So that story actually, surprisingly, we usually see online platforms, bloggers, and all social platforms pitching stories that are usually fake. But in this instance, we have seen conventional media organizations actually taking this story, amplifying it, and giving it some sort of prominence. And then to this day, in my own observation, I have not seen a story that has generated high engagement than this story of Sadia Farouk getting married to Buhari. And it turned out to be that the story is purely fake. So when we are talking about misinformation targeting women, I think if we leave this example or instance, the talk will be incomplete. So as you can see, there is even an invitation that was printed, the invitation that seems very genuine, with parents of the couples and the dates and the venue and everything. And they said the wedding was taking place on Friday, 11th October in 2019 at 2 p.m. at Central Mosque in Abuja. Now, I think that day has not yet come. As you can see, majority of online, of Nigerians online, both reputable and non-reputable, have actually believed the story and have actually been commenting negatively and positively about the story based on the perception and their own opinions. So you can see a comment by one of the Twitter users says, Kowal got this well planned. New wife appointed as Commission DG in 2015, elevated to minister in 2019. Then PYSPI withdrawn him and handed to a new ministry where she is minister. First lady.
My brother Hamza,
yes,
I just sent you a private chat. You might have missed it. You have like 2 minutes left.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have to rush then. So let me quickly skip. I chose to make use of just 2 examples. This one was actually 2 years ago. And the second example I want to just cite, which is also a woman-centered misinformation. This picture you are seeing on the screen is actually, published and reported to be one of the pictures of the wedding events. And this is an event that the minister attended when her relatives actually organized for her to celebrate appointment as minister. Now, the second example I'm now citing is the most recent. This one happened just last week. Adisa Gawon is actually a very famous northern female actress, a filmmaker in Kannywood industry. So she was quoted to have said she will quit film if Minister of Digital Economy and Communications, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami, decides to marry her. And several comments, both in English and Hausa have transpired, as you can see, posters and banners and all that. So let me just briefly conclude. Now, to actually sum it all, I said, okay, how do we get rid of all this misinformation around women? And I think, in my opinion, it is high time that those women targeted with misinformation take legal action on the peddlers, because their reputation is really, really worth securing. Because you can't just leave it, because it has damaging consequences and repercussions, because it affects their standing, their image in the society, and of course, even it stands to demoralize them from contributing positively in the society. Now we said, okay, collective boycott from people. Now, all these platforms that are peddling misinformation on women, we need to collectively rally against them, boycott them, and then the last thing I recommended is actually name and shame the platforms engaged in publishing misinformation narratives around women. We can do that as users of social media. We can rally and we can take action. Once we can name and shame them, their names, supposing we have a register, or supposing I can do that and another person can do that, mention so platform, publish misinformation on so instance. Now we keep engaging that. I think that will go a long way in dousing the tension and of course harming them, and of course creating publicity around those misinformation peddlers. Thank you so much, my teacher and mentor, Dr. Amina Salu. I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother, and my 2 sisters. Excellent, excellent submissions. We are at the 12:08 mark and we're supposed to wrap up this conversation by 12:25, 12:30. And I want to quickly just draw attention to some of the critical things that I've heard our colleagues speak to this morning, because this is a solution-oriented conversation. I want to just focus on some of the solutions I've heard them talk about, as well as some of the challenges, as it were. Chioma began by telling us that, in summary, we need to interrogate the relationship that Nigeria has with its women. I thought that was very powerful. What are the new norms that technology, therefore, can help us engender to begin to throw away those bad attitudes and beliefs that has held us back so much, like Chioma and later Zainab also talked about, in terms of digital relationships. And we need to be conscious of the fact that discrimination based on digital tools and skills will never allow women to be prioritized. So how do we ensure that digital tools get into the hands of the marginalized? How do we address those online violence that are exacerbating the divide as much as possible? What kind of collaboration is very possible between private and public sector? I think she made the point about, look, let's even ask the private sector, what are you committing to? Are you going to fund STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as part of your corporate social responsibility? Who are you employing? How are you ensuring that we have a new pipeline? I thought that was very, very important. Zainab also told us about the fact that when women are censored online by perpetrators who use different kinds of tools, women begin to self-censor themselves. And that is a very sad thing to pay attention to. She's told us that harassment of women, violence against women digitally is not only against the fundamental rights of freedom, it's also a public health issue that we need to pay attention to. And there are tips, there are tools that we can actually bring to the table. And that was the point where I'd asked Zainab the question about whether CTAD could help create a manual that should be very widely disseminated, to be available to people, women especially, to know what to do before they join a digital community, and also to engage our schools to influence our curriculum, because we cannot continue to have 327 million fewer women than men have access to the internet. Then my brother Hamza came in and told us about disinformation and misinformation. Disinformation is that specific intent to deceive. No lies about it. It's what you set out to do to cause confusion. Misinformation sometimes can happen when there's an element of truth lacking in that communication. And because the internet is so open and so accommodating, its strength, it's also its weakness, because it is open to abuses, therefore. And he's telling us, look, there are things that we can do, because followership equals viewing equals income. People will do anything and everything to attract information. And a powerful thing that Hamza has told us today is the nature of the women who are trolled online, who are abused online. They are women who have stood against the grain of patriarchy. They are successful, they're business women, they are students, they're career leaders, and so they are very vulnerable because they are outliers, and the whole world sees them, the whole world knows them, and it's very easy to smear them, because how dare they as women seek to aspire to get that far ahead? And he suggested that we can't name and shame these platforms. We can also have collective boycotts of these kinds of platforms. And he suggested a campaign. And so my brother Hamza, my question to you would be, can CDD lead this campaign? Can we begin to have an instance whereby CDD creates a database of all the bad internet sites? CETA takes that up and adds it to its manual, to its engagement with, if you will, curriculum development in schools. Chioma takes that to TechHer and creates an infographic around it, and the naming and shaming begins. Can we create a community that actually names and shames bad internet behaviors, and also names and hails good internet behavior? Because we need one to cancel out the other. Because sometimes people will tell you, oh, but everyone is doing it. No, we want to also see those who are doing things better and differently. So as we are naming and shaming, should we also be naming and hailing? And will the CDD be willing to start and lead this campaign? So those are my 3 questions to our panel today. I would ask you to hold those thoughts while I open the floor to see if there are any other questions or comments from colleagues, so that we can take it all together as much as possible. I see Blessing says, good afternoon. I want to sincerely appreciate the team for this great work. It's an exciting and powerful panel session, I agree. I'm practically enjoying myself. This summit should be done every month, okay? It takes a lot of planning to get this far, but the organizers have heard you, Blessing the Edemaki. Edemakiota, sorry, the name didn't all come out earlier. So it's she or he is suggesting that we should have this regularly. I guess, again, it's that discourse around how do we enable a community that continues to learn the lessons, because like we said, we don't want to gather again this time next year and we're still on the same spot. And I would like to suggest to the organizers that the lessons from the preceding conference should be taken forward into the next conference, and you have to report back to us. What were some of the key takeaways from that last conference, and how far have you gone in terms of implementing those suggestions as much as possible? Thank you, Marioda, as well. Want to appreciate you for all the good work. God bless you tenfold for your hard work. Bless you as well for participating. Thank you very much to our panelists. I think let me begin with my sister Chioma to answer that question about, and I hear you loud and clear. We do not have enough role models, but the nature of the space is such that we have very few role models anyways in the area of science and tech, especially, internet usage. What kind of curriculum would you like to see shaped? What kind of engagement would you advise, my sister Chioma, that would enable our young people who are coming into tech know that they actually are the present and they are the future, and they have to be role models unto themselves so that others can also emulate them? Because it's not about age, isn't it? My younger child is always bailing me out when I'm stuck. It's really about a generation of ideas. So maybe younger people can even be the role models that we're looking for. Let me ask you to please unmute and share your thoughts.
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you to everyone for the kind words from just arising from this discussion. About role models, I think that there is a big opportunity for us to continue to platform women who are already doing things within technology, because when you model what one person has done, you tell other people that stuff is possible. For instance, one of the things we used to do really religiously at TechHa was every Wednesday, we would profile a woman in technology from across the continent. And so we would be able to show somebody using technology, for instance, to peel oranges, and another person using technology to cut yam, another person using technology to build a house. And so by modeling what people are already doing, you're able to kind of encourage other people to try out different things. So that's really important, modeling. If the organizers of this event, want to have a conversation about platforming women who are already doing stuff within technology, it's very important for people to see women who look like them, who sound like them, who have the same challenges that they face. The second question was about, what kind of topics we would like to see. I think that there's a plethora of information on the internet about the roles that are available for people to take on, about, if we look at where the world is headed, then we're able to tell these are the types of skills that we will need as we go along there. So things like artificial intelligence. I'm currently one of the members of the Paris Peace Forum expert working group on ethical AI and just digital rights. Getting women to take up some of these courses, to put themselves forward for some of these types of positions, but more importantly, to prepare themselves. So we go to our universities. Are we preparing students for today? Before we even talk about preparing them for the future, are they studying courses that will be relevant, going forward? And I think this is one of the places where, donors have a responsibility. And I'm going to, put you in, not in the hot seat, but like on spotlight, because one of the things I remember about the MacArthur Foundation is they supported Bayero University Kano to reorganize the investigative journalism curriculum, which then went to NUC, which then got approved, which is now in play in Bayero University Kano. So what are some of these courses that people can stand behind, that organizations can stand behind? How do we ensure that the curriculum that's currently being studied in universities, how do we even ensure that we have children coding from age 4, age 5, they're testing out all sorts of things. CC Hub has a STEM, a kids STEM club that is active every summer. Sprout Digital has another one. So how do we engage these people who are already doing the work to create a homegrown module that kids can learn from? And then, of course, the big one is the universities when they go into schools, just to prepare them for today before we start talking about tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my sister Chioma. And I embrace your thoughts in terms of the role of donors. And you're right. With Bayero University, for example, the MacArthur Foundation also supported young girls to get scholarships to study mass communication. And part of what we want to do in the next few weeks is to center that story. Let us see where the girls are. Let us see how they've been enabled to be more than the sum of their parts and to inspire others. And I absolutely love your suggestion about creating that platform for women who are already doing amazing work in tech. And dear organizers, this is another thing we need to take forward. By this time next year, can we at least have an e-brochure celebrating those women in partnership with TechHa that are doing incredible work, the very few that we have, because they are there. There are some voices and some names, even at the back of my own mind, that I know have risen to the tech challenge. And we need to create more. Just last, I think it was 2018, just before COVID, one of the CNN top 10 African or world sheroes, not African now, world shero actually, was female. And she had been supporting young people to code. Abisoya Jayaki Folari. She was a CNN shero, and Chioma would remember this. And CNN had noticed her from her work in Makoko, which is a very rural and underserved community of Lagos. And so we need to be able to surface those kinds of stories and celebrate them and inspire, through our curriculum and other ways. My sister Chinwe for agreeing with me. Thank you so very much. So my sister Chioma, you and the organizers have your work cut out for you. By this time next year, we really want to see what success we can take forward. And thank you for speaking to that issue about the curriculum, about what the content of the teaching could be. My sister Zainab, let me come to you next to answer your question.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Ma. First of all, I would like to advise that we need public awareness. That's why right now in CITAD, we are currently running a project with support from Ford Foundation that is trying to strengthen citizens' response against gender-based violence and also protection of victims of gender-based violence. And I think that it needs to start from there. Because sometimes, even when I talk to my friends, many of them say online violence is no big deal. But people need to understand that it is real. That it's real violence with real impact. And sometimes it moves even from online to offline or offline to online. So first of all, we need awareness. People need to be aware that there is something like this that affects the woman gender. And then secondly, on the basic security tips that women can use when they are online, they need to protect their identity online. Like I mentioned while I was—
So my sister Zainab, my question therefore is, can CITAD take that forward? Can you help create, like we're thinking about creating a platform now to showcase women in tech as role models to inspire another generation? Can CITAD take forward the challenge of pulling all of those tips together and using it to engage, educational resource centers? That they're the ones that shape school curriculum, so that we can start to have this early in school curriculum, and also make sure that it's available to everyone as much as possible, using different amplification platforms, working with your partners to know these tips before we even get on the internet. Can you create a manual? That I think is the question I'd like you to speak to.
Okay. Yes. CITAD is even have started doing something in regards to that, because presently we are trying to engage schools, that's people from the basic, so that we could be able to create from safe and transformative schools. They can be able to protect themselves online and a lot of things. And as we go along, hopefully before the next NIGF, we hope that many of the impacts would have been manifested, because we are starting from the basic level, and subsequently we'll move in collaboration with other tech sister tech companies that we can align together and create a manual.
I like that. I like that idea of working with sister tech companies, with schools to create a manual. I love the idea of safe and transformative schools. And so by the next conference, we're going to be asking CITAD, where are we with the safe and transformative schools? Where are we with working with sister companies? And I can see in the chat that my brother Ibrahim Suleiman agrees with you, and he says, we need to have mass education and engaging the helping hands of religious leaders as well, to understand this, because in fact, religious leaders are increasingly using tech to do their business, and so they need to pay attention to the safety of their own congregation. And I think Blessing has another point. Like you stated earlier, it'd be great to have an institution, i.e. CDD, take up the leadership role in creating the manual that will help in improving the students' curriculum, and also share, I guess, across the social media. And she's dropped my sister Blessing or my brother Blessing. Would you like to put this chat in the public? Because I think you intended to put it in the public, but I think it's come up, it's been sent to me personally, because there's a link that I think everyone needs to see. My brother Hamza, let me come to you now in terms of that idea, because CDD's name keeps popping up. Maybe there are things you're doing already, but I was excited by that campaign. Do you think it's a campaign that a CDD would like to spearhead along with the organizers of this conference, to understand, to name and shame those bad eggs, and to name and hail those good ones, so that we can see that it has been done, it can be done. You don't have to be, you don't have to troll anyone to really be a superstar on the internet. You can do decent things and still earn a name. You have the floor, my brother Hamza.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Amina. And I think I'm very optimistic CDD will be happy to lead this, but even though this is not something I can give immediate feedback on, but I'm very confident that yes, this is something we can be interested in because we have done several other similar things around, creating awareness on the public, awareness, enlightenment through social media, radio programs, and sensitizations in town halls and so on. So as I stated, this is not something I can give a quick feedback, but I'm optimistic this will work for us.
Thank you very much. I think optimism is a very good start, and we need to start there. And then, the organizers can take it forward, because knowing CDD's reputation, I know resource is not your challenge. You're already doing this excellent work. So just taking it forward, I'm sure would be something that, having you there, my brother Hamza, I know how very resilient and tenacious you can be when you believe in something. So we believe in you to help take this forward. I see an interesting comment here that I want my sister Chioma to respond to in case she hasn't seen it. Nkem Mweke says, women are their worst enemies. We always hear this thing. We're always the first to condemn ourselves. If only we can talk to ourselves and support one another. I know Chioma and I don't argue that women are their own worst enemies, but I want you to just speak to this in the context that this person, male or female, is making this point. Would you like to comment? Thank you.
Definitely not. And I think that right off the bat, it sounds like one of those stereotypes that we just continue to pass down. And so when a person hears it in 2021, they don't even know where it's come from, but they've just heard it so many times that it has almost, as it were, become truth. So I make it a big point to dispel this everywhere I go. And even before this comments came up, I think one of the things I mentioned when I was making my full-on presentation was I've been privileged to have a lot of people ahead of me who continue to hold my hand and drag me towards opportunities and drag my organization towards opportunities. And of course, correct us when we do the wrong thing or when we're not living up to the standards expected of us. And a good chunk of this support and guidance and mentorship that we've received has been from women. And one of them, Dr. Amina, who is moderating the conversation. Also to mention that a significant chunk of work I've done in my entire life, which is not a long time, but a significant chunk of the work that I've done has been with women, and all of them, unimpeachable. And even where we disagree, and this is often where these things come up, because sometimes it sounds like if a woman disagrees with a woman, then it becomes women are not supporting women. But men disagree with themselves. Men disagree with women. And so I guess for us, and for me personally, it's for us to stop repeating these stereotypes without good reason. The fact that somebody doesn't agree with you, as a matter of fact, there are a number of feminism conversations that I don't agree with. It cannot be tantamount to me not supporting a fellow woman. There's some bills within the National Assembly that are supposed to promote women that I don't believe in. It doesn't mean I'm a woman not supporting women. It just means I'm an independent person with my own, capable of thoughts, I'm capable of independent thoughts, able to make my own decisions, and able to be engaged with superior knowledge, that might make me change my mind. So please let us try to intentionally work our minds to walk away from this line that women don't support women. There are bad people everywhere, male, female, young, old. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my sister Chairman. I couldn't add to that, because you've put it very clearly. It's a whole new world for all of us, dear colleagues, and some people have been on it longer than others. The male gender, everything has always been created around men. And so it's been very easy for people to do certain things in certain ways because they have had a head start. Women are only just joining because of their gender. They have been kept back. So things are new, and we have to be supportive of each other and use language that affirm each other so that we don't begin to self-censor ourselves and self-censor each other, like Zainab had said earlier. Thank you, my sister, my brother Chinwe Uguja, for volunteering to help document the story as a woman in tech and media yourself. Oh, it's a sister. Thank you, my sister. So Chioma, you do have a likely ally if you want to just private chat Chinwe. My brother, the team leader of CITAD, Dr. Wisey, there's a chat I want to draw your attention to because I know you're a mentor of mentors. I think it was Mariuda who dropped a chat about young girls who are online, who are trying to find mentors and support to do their work. And she's listed all of their names. I think Mariam Usman, Mariam Musa, Zara Abubakar, Fatima Abubakar, the members of NITE Foundation. My brother, if you can delegate someone from CETA to please pay attention to these young colleagues, let us nurture them. If there's anything you need me to do on a personal level, please let me know, and I'll be willing to contribute to their mentorship through CETA. Thank you very much. Thank you, Awal. Thank you all for discussing extensively. I recommend collaboration among stakeholders within the tech space. I totally agree with you, and that point has been made in terms of what we need to do. So we are on the hour, and I don't intend to stay longer. I would like to quickly conclude in terms of some of the 3 exciting things that we would like to see taken forward and shared with us by the next conference. 1, we need to create that platform of women who are doing incredible things in the tech community already, and we even have volunteers who are willing to work with the organizers as well as TechHer. 2nd is that we need to create safe and transformative schools, and CETA will build on its work in this direction also, as well as lead a collaboration of tech companies to begin to show the power of example and to show us how they're creating that pipeline that Chioma asked about earlier, and ensuring that the space is safe for women in the And 3rd is that we hope to see the ways in on naming and shaming bad practices and organizations online as well. I thank you very much, the organizers of this exciting conversation. And I thank my panel, Hamza, Zainab, and Chioma, for the opportunity of hearing your voices again this morning. It's an honor to call you friends, sisters, brother, and co-traveler. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conversation, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Hajamia. Thank you.
So now we hand over to the next panel and to the organizers.
Thank you, Dr. Amina, for good moderation. Thank you, all the panelists. We are so grateful. It's been exciting and we have learned new knowledge. So we hand back to Dr. YZ to introduce the next panel. I think we have short break. When are we taking on the new one? Thank you, Dr. Amina. People are still saying thank you. Exciting. We have break for how long? NIGF, how long is the break? So let's come back. Just 3 minutes break. So it's just to give us enough time to go to the next panel session. Dr. YZ, our panelist and moderator, are they all here? And has the keynote speaker appeared? Dr. YZ, please. If Dr. YZ is not here, can the CETA group, can you tell us the next panel, the moderator and the panelists, are they all around, please?
Madam Chair, I think I saw 1 or 2 of the speakers on the call. I think Dr. Sana Abdullah Mwazu of Bayer University Kano is on the call.
Who is the second one? Who is the
I believe
second
that
one?
I've also seen my sister Toyosi on the call.
Okay.
She is on the call.
Okay. Okay. So, and the moderator, who is the moderator, please? I mean, are you moderating again the second session?
But my chair, it's Professor Asabe Mohammed of Bauchi State University. Get out.
She's also here, I think. She's on the call.
Asabe. Okay. All right. So I think we're almost there at the top of the hour to start the second session. So we hand over to Asabe since YZ is like our MC has dropped off. So Asabe, over to you, please.
Well, it seems she has some technical challenges or something, but I don't seem to see her again. But she was here, I think, a couple of minutes ago.
Okay. Okay.
She may be trying to reconnect or something, but before she does that, let's try to see if we can get her on the phone or something.
All right, try and get her on the phone. We have two of our panelists here. Who is the third panelist that is not here?
Well, it's Khadija El Usman.
We have
Initiative.
Yeah, we have Dr. Okay, Khalija El Usman.
Khadija, if you're here, please confirm.
Adam Initiative, are you here? El Usman? Okay, seems we have only the two people, Toyosi and Dr. Muaz, right?
Yes.
Right, Abdullah. Okay, all right.
Yes. Sada Muaz.
Okay, Sada Muaz. Okay, thank you very much. And I think we have to start by what time? Let me see. Okay. Did you get Prof? Did you get Professor Asabe? Was she reached? Abdullahi?
Yes. Hello, ma.
Okay. Hello.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. I think your session should start. Okay.
Okay.
And
okay.
The second session, we are to coordinate or to moderate, fostering creativity and innovation for mainstreaming women participation in the digital economy. Okay. Second topic, how do we get more into the digital profession for better representation of women in the digital economy? And the third one is overcoming digital skills challenges. These have been touched by the first session, so that you have more time since the third speaker may be joining later. So you can start off now. Thank you. Please unmute her to kick off the second panel session. Prof, over to you, Prof. Are you there, Prof? Can we have a placehold, please? Seated. Okay, we want to welcome our first speaker. The topic you have, Toyosi accurately, please. Okay, so we are not sure Prof is connected. Prof,
Well,
if you are connected.
Madam Chair, I just spoke to Prof on the phone.
Yes.
Actually, it's raining heavily where she is, so she has a terrible network. She has been trying to reconnect, but she couldn't do so. She sends her apologies while she tries to get how she can be on the call.
Okay, so for the time being, can we listen to Toyosi? Please, your topic is fostering creativity and innovation for mainstreaming women participation in the digital economy. And since we have only 2 panelists, we are free to do up to 15 minutes. Okay, so that we can also have question and answer period. You're welcome, Toyosi.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Toyosi Akirele Ogushiji, as you probably know. I work for Rise Networks, and our work at Rise Networks is at the intersection of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and data science and data analytics and reinforcement learning and education. So things like STEM, foundational learning around science, technology, engineering, and math, and also supporting the digital transformation of private, public, and non-profit organizations across the country and the continent. I'm very excited to be here this afternoon, and I've been listening to the very intelligent submissions of the previous panelists and speakers. I want to begin this conversation by drawing our attention to one of the things that Chioma had mentioned in the previous conversation around preparing women and centering women around the conversation of digital technologies and digital economy. First, one of the things that we need to teach more girls, or one of the things that I'm not even sure that many of the women in technology today do know, is that the first human being to ever win the Nobel Prize twice is a woman, Marie Curie, and she wrote a lot of the scientific frameworks, for her husband Pierre Curie, and together they coined what is known today to be radioactivity. Second, the 3 people that wrote the mathematical models that sent the first American to the moon are 3 women, and if you've seen the
Is it my side or his side? I can't hear him again. Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you. My
everyone...
sister Toyosi, we couldn't hear you. I think she dropped off at one point, but she's back.
Okay, where did you hear me up to, please?
You need to go back after the Corey example. The second example about the mathematical formula. We didn't quite catch that.
Okay. So I said that when you walk into the Rise Labs, which is an artificial intelligence lab in Lagos, Nigeria, the first thing that you'd see Well, while we have the photographs of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and other people who have designed products based on technology, the first photograph you're going to see is the photograph of a woman called Marie Curie, who's the first and only human being in history to win the Nobel Prize twice. She was a physicist, and she wrote and designed the scientific frameworks for what is known today to be radioactivity in science. Um, Number two, the three human beings that designed and wrote the mathematical models that sent the first American to the moon are all women. And if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, you see the role that men played in putting women down and subjecting them to all kinds of oppression in the face of, trying to to create and invent. Kevin Costner played that role. And I'm using this example because I'm speaking on creativity and innovation. Because one of the things that we're studying and we're seeing is the role that implicit bias is playing in product design, and putting the careers of women at risk and not giving women the opportunity to compete on a level playing field. I take simple little things like a seatbelt in a motor vehicle, in an automobile park. Because it's men that are mostly employed to work in automobile companies around the world, the seatbelt is designed to be able to, go across the tummy area. And you'd have read that a couple of women were protesting a few years ago. Now that did not factor in when women get pregnant and are not going to be able to run belts, over, very large tummies. But that's product design. But that's bias in product design. That means life or death for women. The second thing that I want to talk about is number one, as of today, the highest paying jobs in the world are in the realms of data science and artificial intelligence. The entry level salary for a data scientist without a degree is $60,000. And in the world today, you have only 1 out of 4 women in a data science career, and only 26% of women in data related professional positions around the world. In a world where we're preparing for a future that is going to be dominated by smart machines, machine learning is a component of artificial intelligence, and you'd see that on your mobile phone. So, for example, your mobile phones now have memories of their own, such that if I dialed Amina Saliu on my phone today, and tomorrow morning or 5 days later, I write AM on my phone naturally suggests Amina Saliu's name to me because it stored the memory that I spoke to an Amina Saliu a few days ago. That's the power that data is playing around the world today. And in a world where we're seeing, artificial intelligence being defined as the new electricity, in a world where the fourth industrial revolution is shaping and transforming the way we think, the way we buy things. When you watch a movie on Netflix, it stored your preferences, and the next set of movies suggesting to you are very related to the ones that you watched before. You are thinking about something in your mind about what you want to buy, and you go to Facebook and you see adverts that are relating to those things. Now, when you think about all of this and you think about women in the grand context of, disruptive innovation and emerging technologies like AI, like data science, like analytics, like cloud computing, you'd see that, the forward thinking that you'd see women exhibit in product design is usually much more superior. And I don't say this because I'm a woman. I say this because I'm a woman who thrives on extensive research. So everything I'm saying is, research backed. I'm thinking about how this applies to how we're teaching and preparing our girls for the classrooms. When we spoke about the curriculum earlier in the first panel, we talked about, teaching, what are we teaching young people in the classrooms, but we forget the implicit bias of the fact that girls are encouraged to do home economics while boys are encouraged to do introductory technology. I'll give you a quick example of myself. I studied law in undergrad, master in public administration. I work in code, emerging technology. I'm 37. I started to learn how to code at 35. Today I write Python, which is the world's #1 programming language for data science. I teach it at professional level to private companies. And I have the privilege to have just been taken into a PhD program at the Nigerian Defense Academy to research on an unprecedented topic around the intersection of artificial intelligence and terrorism and insurgency, and how we can reform the Nigerian security architecture using disruptive innovation. The reason that I chose that topic and the reason why my department at the NDA in Kaduna are extremely excited, even though I'm a girl, is because, number one, when I was writing that thesis proposition, my argument was that the biggest beneficiaries of terrorism and insurgency, activities in the North are girls and women. They become widows. If you've seen the movie called Voiceless on Netflix, you'd see the animated, sinister activities that are carried out on women, almost as women are treated like machines, in war camps, run by, terrorists across the world. And my argument is, if we, the women, are the greatest beneficiaries of terrorism and the victims of terrorism, if we are the ones who have been in this camp, if we form 70% of the population of IDPs in the IDP camps, or even victims of terrorism, why aren't we given the opportunity to be the ones to design the solutions, that tackle our problems? We were not. I think about this in the context of the solutions around rethinking our education. An education system that says that girls should become nurses and boys should become engineers starts from when we as mothers buy our daughters baby dolls and buy our sons aeroplanes. Stereotyping. So my daughter is 5 years old. She writes basic PHP and HTML. My son is 3 years old. When I'm buying them toys, I don't stereotype my daughter into pink colors. I buy her colors that, are purple, are blue, are red, in spite of her gender. I encourage her to, break remote controls and figure out what's wrong with the wires inside, just like my son wants to do. So that both of them are able to compete on a level playing field. And when we talk about STEM, it's not just about the education in the classrooms. It's about the technical, application and understanding of giving. So one of the things some of the things you'd see at the Rise Lab is, things like potentiometers, jumper wires. You'd see things like Arduino boards, where we're giving to children. We give them to children and let them learn. And you'll be stunned if you go to the Rise Network website to see children and teenagers building traffic lights using basic Arduino boards, breadboard, potentiometers, jumper wires, and all of those things. Research is beginning to show that the quality of the level of a country's national development is directly proportional to the level of that country's human capital. Now, a country can never compete beyond the level of its human capital. And when we talk about human capital in Nigeria, I find that we're placing too much, giving too much attention to the male folk when it comes to the engineering sector. And so when you see products that are designed, you know that it was men that designed this product. You think about, so I was reading an article on TechCrunch the other day, and an AI researcher, a PhD, said that, she designed a surgical robotic system, using a Microsoft speech recognition API. And because the API was built mainly by 20 to 30-year-old men, it did not recognize her voice. And so she had to lower the pitch of her voice in order for it to work. And as a result, as a PhD student, she could not present her work, in that space, because it was a male graduate who has always had to lead the demonstration when they showed the system to visitors at the university. And this is an Ivy League university. So an equally brilliant woman is not given the opportunity of platform, presentation, and presence because systems and products are designed by men. You're thinking about, you want to design a pregnancy-related test kits. Go and do your research. You see that the opinions and the ideas of women were not taken in the course of designing those things. So men are the ones who are designing products for women. And that's why I think that when we organized programs and I think this is a very important subject matter because entertainment and innovation and creativity are very crucial platforms for disseminating information. Look at what King of Boys has done with centering women in politics. And you would be shocked at the amount of girls who are going to come out and run in 2023 because of the performance of Shola Sobowale taking over Lagos State, which is supposed to be the 5th largest economy. It's a storyline, but it's killing a bias that it's only men that can be mafia in politics. That movie showed that women can take over politics, dominate the scene, use men as bodyguards, win elections, and play the role of mafia. Like the old, women or the women of the old, like Gambo Sawaba, Efusheton Aniwura, Buchi Emecheta, second-class citizen, and all of that. When I watched, one of the things that shaped my learning in technology and shaped my interest is when I watched the movie Hidden Figures, when women had to go into toilets, in factories, because when they needed to speak or design things in their open offices, they were not allowed to. So they had to go into toilets to go and design, things. Many times you see that until men fail at certain things, women are not given the chance to try. So you don't give, so an opportunity, so technology must create an opportunity for, technology must create equal opportunities for girls and boys, where girls are not told that, you are supposed to do the soft jobs in technology. So even technology, you are seeing a lot of bias in the tech community and the tech sector right now. You'd see people say women should go and do product design. Women should go and do brand and communications. Women should go and do HR. And men should be the ones who are, engineers. And men should be the ones who are writing code. And so now you're seeing girls saying, you know what? Don't worry, I'm ready to do the work, of, engineering. I'm ready to write the code. I'm ready to sleep in the office overnight. Girls are paying 10 times the price for what the boys are, what is the usual normal opportunities that, boys do have. But girls are extremely smart. And what are we doing, about getting girls that have, opportunities and centering them around the conversation of becoming inventors and creators? When I was applying for the PhD at the NDA, a lot of people were asking me, are you a man? Are you do you want to join the military? Why are you trying to, go and, take a PhD in NDA? But I took it because I want some type of validation. I took it because I want to be able to get into a space where young people of my age, especially women, would typically not find themselves. And I want to be able to be the example, the compelling example for young girls that it is possible. That I'm not just taking a PhD in defense and security strategy. My research is going to be centered around, artificial intelligence. And the day that I applied for research funding from 2 universities abroad, I got a yes in 2 weeks. Because I'm female, it's an unusual terrain for women. When you Google women in finance, economics and finance, they are a dime a dozen. Nigeria's Presidential Security Advisory Council does not have a single woman on it, has never had a woman. When you think about things around national security in our country and in Africa, you think about the fact that it is men who should fill those positions. But national security is not, reduced to carrying guns. You must think about the intersection of national security and economic development. Nigeria is losing huge foreign direct investment because our nation is insecure. Private companies are moving their investment out of Nigeria because they don't feel safe to do business here anymore. The northern economy, which is supposed to be one of the most prosperous economies in sub-Saharan Africa, is practically dead because of terrorism. I was saying to the MD of Techno Nigeria the other day, Techno designs mobile phones and owns about 43 to 46% of the Nigerian mobile phone market share. And they don't have a single assembly factory in Nigeria. And I was trying to propose to them to come and open one in Borno, convincing them that Maiduguri is very safe because I go to the base states, Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe very often by, the privilege of the work that I do as a member of the Presidential Committee of the Victim Support Fund. And then I chair the COVID-19 program of the, Victim Support Fund as well. And they were saying it's a no-go area. I imagine the amount of industry that Northern Nigeria can have if, private companies were going to invest there. 3 days ago, a company approached me and said, oh, VSL, please support us to, do this sporting program in the North. We want to use sports as a means of social cohesion, to gainfully engage the energies of young people, especially because some of the brightest footballers were discovered in the backwaters of local communities around Nigeria, the Mikel Obis and the JJ Okochas of this world. And we find that the North is very underrepresented in global sports. So we want to be able to do this program. And there and then his colleague was saying, sorry, we're not going to the North. I can't get killed and all of that. So national security is not something that should be left in the hands of just the military. The private sector has a key role to play. Researchers, like PhD researchers like myself, who understand how resource mobilization, who understand accountability processes, who understand design thinking and disruptive innovation, need to go into the space and support the government's effort with designing frameworks that are practical, not just PhD theses that are going to be left on the table, but things that are going to be practical enough that are going to be applied, that will make solutions actually work. And when I do that, what would happen is that you'd see a lot of young girls begin to think about going into that space. The women who work in global security around the world are heavily paid, but nobody knows their stories. So the job of, organizations like MacArthur Foundation, like CITAD, who are already doing incredibly well. For example, part of the work that Rise Networks is doing with CITAD under the MacArthur Foundation funded program is that we're designing, an artificial intelligence driven mobile application ahead of 2023 elections that is going to feed from a local language dictionary using basic algorithms and patterns to channel, to tackle fake news in the 2023 elections. And I'm a girl. I wrote the concept note for that. The people who work with me on our team are a lot of men, but we have very smart women. Onyinyechi, Anu, a lot of them are girls. But I wrote the concept note and worked with our team of, STEM. During our STEM summer program, we had teenagers who came into the lab, whose parents came to drop them off. And it was amazing how their input really enriched the scope of that program. Why do we want to do that? There's a lot of violence that trail electoral violence and misappropriation of resources and electoral accountability because of fake news. People put it on Twitter and say 20 people have just been killed in one.
Thank you. Please, can you round up? You have 2 minutes to give us all the solutions, just keywords you want us to look at. Okay. So where do we go?
Number one, key areas. It's extremely crucial to focus on research and development. Nigeria doesn't have any research and development framework. Kenya's budget for education is 21%. Ghana's budget for education is 26%. Nigeria's budget for education moved from about 7% to 10%. Number two, we need a reward system for teachers, female teachers who teach technology subject matter. A lot of the people that we see teaching introductory technology and chemistry, but there's a lot of women who teach those. I'd like to see a fellowship that supports female teachers who teach science and technology subjects so that we can center them and use them as key role models for girls in school. Number three, I'd like to see a very strong collaboration between the entertainment sector, the technology sector, and the policy experts. I talked about movies today that have shaped my thinking and are shaping the way women are thinking around science and technology. We, the policy people, can't do the work on our own alone. If we put it in a movie, millions of people will watch it, and more girls will begin to believe that it is possible, that they can do certain things. Number four, I'd like to see more STEM programs that are not just focused on girls, but are focused on both boys and girls. And the reason is because you need that cross-fertilization of ideas amongst girls and boys for them to be able to co-create, to collaborate on projects. But it would be great to see things like we would fund you. You have an advantage to assess our funding program when you have a woman in your leadership team. That way, women are going to be nowhere left behind. The capacity of women will be sacrosanct because people know that it's now, it's inevitable that women have to be in the leadership team of any company that is proposing anything to get funding. And it would be great to also see more effort to support existing people who are already working in the space to do programs like this around girls, and put a reward system for girls who are doing work around, deep technology, disruptive innovation, and more than just in role models. It's important to get those women to do roundtables and speak to girls on on a more personal level, not just watching them on TV or reading about them in the papers. But I know the role that Funke Okweke has played in my life, she being an engineer and me not being an engineer, but teaching me the core concepts of engineering by being my mentor, cut the number of years that I needed to go back to university to study engineering. And it showed me that it was possible because she was available to answer my questions in the middle of the night. Women who are already established need to be available for younger women, to validate them that your dreams are valid and put the money where their mouths are, provide the resources that the girls need to thrive and to be globally competitive. I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so very much. I know my sister Amina, you must have jot down question for her. Since I'm just bridging the gap by standing in for Prof. So for this reason, she has raised a lot of exciting and good examples for us to follow, and so that our girls will be innovative and our women will be innovative. We should venture into where it seems that the women are not. But so you can write down your question when it's time for questions. We'll get back to her. And then the question of treating boys and girls the same. That's very good. Our presenter. Thank you very much. So we go to the second presenter. And please, you can continue to put down your questions online for them, they will answer. Second presenter is Dr. Sani Muazu. I hope Dr. Sana is here. How do
yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, my dear. How do we get more in the digital professions for better representation of women in the digital economy? And you are going to speak to that. You have 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Ma. Good afternoon to you all. Nice to be part of this amazing team. So from the topic, we can see that to train a girl child so that she can be digitalized in order to participate in the digital economy is the big challenge. The first issue is, how do we train her? The training is the most important aspect. After the training, how do we make her feel important as we can imagine, to make her realization true, to make the dream true? The diffusion of ICT has brought change to all aspects of our lives. If we see from the given rapid acceleration of digital economy, women have less access to opportunities linked to the digital economy. Why? Women in STEM. What is all about STEM? STEM is science, technology, and engineering, stroke.
Is it my side or her side? Can you still hear?
Courses. Research
okay,
had only 30. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you. You are gone again. We can't hear you.
Okay, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. We only have 30% of the world researchers which are women. And whenever we want to impact,
technology, we can't hear her again. Oh my God.
We want to come up with innovations, changes, then what are the new modalities that will be presented? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So from where we can see that 30% of the world researchers are women, 70% of the researchers are men. And whenever we want to bring ideas, innovations, and technologies or modality to follow in order to bridge any gap, the best and firmest way is to research. So once these women are not researching, how do we find the requirements? How do we get the ideas? How do we come up with modalities, outline approaches, or techniques that can help in identifying and also presenting solutions to the seed problem? Additionally, 35% of all students enrolled in STEM-related field study are women. So for science, technology, engineering, if you go to our colleges, our universities, only 35% of the students are girl or woman. So going by that, in the recent area of researches, we talk about AI, big data, edge computing, fog computing, deep learning, machine learning. These are the trending areas of researches that bring modalities, that bring innovations to the entire world. But we can see that it has been proven by research that only 26% of women are professional globally in these areas or in this field. So the first and foremost is we need to train our girl child to go into the STEM courses, not only to the STEM courses, to begin a career with research in mind, to start a career with this research in mind. Digitalized me. If we come to Africa, only 12% of African women have access to the internet. So without the internet, how do we empower? How do we inspire others? How do you see these role models? Talking about role models, the role models exist. Since when I was in my secondary school, my final year in 2000, I read a book, Da Vinci Code. From that book, I learned how to what? How to Google online to see the potential women and men that are in IT and technology. If you go to YouTube, YouTube is not meant only for what? Watching movies. If you search for female professors, female that has skills or that has done rigorous researches in IT, technology, and engineering, there are much thousands of women you can see to empower you, to serve as a role model. So the most important thing is to have the access to internet. When we go online, when we have access to this internet, there are much opportunities to be unlocked. Women represent about 50% of university students in most developed countries, but are underrepresented in STEM field. Most of the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the leaders are missing. For younger children, we will see that there is no difference in the use of computers, but at the age of 16, 17, the gender gaps start to grow. Whenever we reach this age, 16, 17, 18 upwards, then the gender gaps begins to grow. If you have a kid, if you have two kids, a male and a female, whenever they reaches university, you only prefer the best and sophisticated courses to the what? To the boy, while encouraging the girl child to go and study any course with the mind or with the notion that at the end she will get married and have children. Getting married or having children will not hinder you or can never serve as a hindrance to have your own goal in your hand. When I finished, taking myself as an example, when I finished my undergrad at Bayero University, I started my master's in Bayero University. So I was opportune to get to secure a scholarship to go overseas for my master's. The first incident that happened within my family, I have a kid, I was newly wedded. They are discouraging me, saying that if I go, my husband will remarry again. So for him to remarry, can I allow that to serve as a hindrance for making or for fulfilling my goals? most of the people are saying that I'm not supposed to be leaving, I'm not supposed to be going to UK or Malaysia for a 1-year master's program. So hadn't been, I'm not aware of all the opportunities. Seeing sophisticated women that has professionalism, that have research skills on YouTube, I should have followed the idea of staying at home to stay with my baby and the husband in order for him not to marry. And I left for Malaysia. I did the masters. I came back meeting him without marrying another wife. And most of the people or most of the colleagues that were advising me to stay, their husband have already have the other wives, or they have remarried again, sabotaging the entire family. So we need to have that self-confidence in us. We need to go online to see the potentiality in women, how good women are being represented in the world, because the role model exists. The problem is that we don't know the role models, but if we go online, there are lots of females that are doing better than our expectation. Most of the researchers in my field, data science, machine learning, deep learning, are women. Software is usually developed and by males. Whenever we see a software team, we can see that, or we will have the realization that most of the team members are male. If the team constituted of 10 members, it is only by expectation to see 2, maximum of 3 females in that team. So whenever they have the software or they have the developed application, most of the requirements, most of the female requirements are missing because we are not part of the team. Like the other sisters talking about the seat belt hadn't been, when they were working or developing the seat belt issue, there are ladies in the team. They should have think about a lady being pregnant and how to use that application after it has been used or when it is in usage. So the most and foremost or additional problem is whenever we are developing a system, we miss to have, or we miss to elicit the potential requirements from the woman or from the ladies, thereby making the application inevitably less importance to them. Even when gender differences in skills are insignificant, women, from our own perception, we perceive our skills to be lower than the male counterparts. During meeting, there are issues that will be discussed among colleagues, but whenever a woman reaches to have the opportunity to present something, most of the people there will be neglecting her idea. I could remember that we once wrote proposal to the TED fund, and the proposal was written by 2 of us, I and my colleague, based on our research that has been done on gender differences. The main issue about the research is we want to have a correlate between the girl and the boy student to see to outcome or to project on their performance based on their lower level programming course. So the report was written and they have to give a guy or a man to go for the presentation. At the first instance, we failed and we were unable to secure that TED fund grant because he doesn't know anything about the report,
Yes.
about the research, but all of the senior colleagues there are afraid of sending a lady like me to present or to defend on the work or the researches we did. So at the second instance, at 2020, during the COVID, let me quote what my HOD was saying: let's take the risks of sending Sana. So it is like they are taking the risks of sending a lady to defend her work. And after that, we successfully secured about 38 million of the grant to conduct in my university. So see, if you see that we have to be encouraging ourselves, we have to be the main role models of ourselves, because I normally tell my students self-discipline, self-control. The main word there is self. So you need to encourage yourself, even if nobody is encouraging you. So we have to perceive our skills as the highest, as the most highest level of our life. And
Thank you.
There are leaks in
Thank
the
you.
education pipeline. Oh, hello, is it time?
Yes, so yeah, almost there. So try and give
yeah.
us your recommendations so that we can give you give time for questions.
Yeah, the recommendation is whenever we have the kids from the small level of their lives, is we have to encourage them, we have to guide them, and we have to show them that they are out for challenge and they need to face this challenge. And for the woman, it is not about teaching, it is not about the profession, it is about researching. We need to research to see the problems. What are the real problems that are happening? How do we apply technology in the area of machine learning, deep learning, sentiment analysis, edge computing, fog computing? So how do we apply this technology to the outline problem in order to mitigate and solve the problems that are particularly related to women? Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. There's a question I want you to hold, but by the time we go back to question and answer, well, in 2018, Internet Governance Forum, we did one for women in Bochi, and at that meeting, one of the women came up to say that why should we allow our children to go to the internet? I don't know what the conversation or conversation is now in the north, right north, when the women are not allowing their children, whether it's male or female. And again, the female children, they don't even allow them to go to stay in school. When they are 15 or 16, they withdraw them. So those are critical areas. How do we tackle that to help us? Because if you are not exposed well, you cannot do this research thing. Second thing I want you to hold on. If your work involves you are climbing a pole to go and fix electricity, to go and fix telecom towers, what will happen? Would your husband allow you to climb, hold those? And those are things that we need to tackle again when it comes to encouraging our women to, or our young girls to go to do what the boys are doing. Thank you very much. I think we have the third presenter. Okay, when we come to question and answer, I think we have the third presenter. Are you here from Paradigm Initiative? Are you here? If you are here, can you confirm that you are here so that we can give you the opportunity? We have the speaker is Kadeja El Usman. Are you here, Kadeja El Usman? Okay. My sister Amina, are you still here? My sister Amina, are you here? Please.
Yes, I'm here, Chairman. I'm here, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So it seems the second, the third presenter is not here, but you know that the other presenters, the first the first panelists, they touched on this topic, overcoming digital skill challenges for women participation in digital economy. So I don't know whether you want to quickly speak on that. Just few things you can say about that, Dr. Sani, Dr. Amina. Just few things. I'm putting you on the spot.
Thank you. No, you're not. We're all in this together. And it's such an honor listening to these incredible voices. My sister Toyosi's reputation precedes her in the firmament. And, as we're talking about the tech women that we need to profile, I see two tech women that we need to speak to and profile. That platforming that we talked about earlier, like you said, Chairman, in the first session becomes even much more important. Listening to Toyosi and then meeting another sister for the first time. I haven't met, I don't think I've met Dr. Sanama Oz before. It's an honor listening to her.
We met at Kaduna, Dr.
Oh my
Amina.
goodness, that is true.
Yeah.
That's why the name
we
is
once
familiar.
Met, yeah.
True. We're all wearing masks at that meeting.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And so I feel very privileged, Chairman, that we have two more tech giants that we need to profile. Now, to Toyosi's submission, I like the fact that she referenced history as history. And I think that is what we need to do in this race against exclusion in the digital space. We need to rewrite history as history. What do I mean? History is his story. Everything. I have a book I'm reading right now. As she was speaking, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm holding it up. I hope you can see it. It's called Invisible Women.
We can see it.
Invisible Women is written by Caroline Criado Perez. And one of my male mentors got me this book, just like you said about CITAD being led by male mentors. And it says exactly what Toyosi has shared. History is always on the side of men. Design always thinks about men. But design becomes dangerous when there's a life and death connotation that nobody ever thought about. Look at the example of seat belts that she gave. Because the worst thing that a man can have around his middle is fat, pot belly. But a woman can be carrying life around her middle. The other thing around design that has not centered women is that even where you look at the way the airbags pop up when one, God forbid, there's an accident, the airbags are popping up at a level that assumes the average height of a woman. So the fact that there's a lot of gender blindness in the firmament is a dangerous thing we need to confront. So changing history to history means moving from his story to her story. And so when she then shared with us about Maria Corey, for example, and the amazing work she's done, and even other stories we've heard of male Nobel Prize winners who have been supported by their spouses who are not recognized, what she said really, truly resonated with me. And then she talked about the mathematical model, and everyone has to see that movie Hidden Figures, because we need to educate ourselves. When we come to fora like this ones and we learn new things, we need to also challenge ourselves to ask ourselves more questions and to do our own part. And I think everyone should watch Hidden Figures, because it is not only 3 women who did the mathematical coding, it is actually 3 Black women. Correct. So ethnicity, correct, gender, race, all of those things, and they were young to middle-aged women. They were not elderly women. So we need to understand the story of technology and rewrite the story of technology. So for me, that is one big takeaway from this conversation. To my sister Sana, I was just being so proud of you because you brought a personal story into the space. And until and unless we all find our personal voices, we're not going anywhere. And that is why I'd asked the question of my sister Chioma earlier, that can we also encourage the young up and coming ones to know that they themselves are role models? They're already ahead of the pack. And for them to have that confidence that Dr. Sana talks about, so that they can know that, look, we matter and we're doing something exceedingly, extremely important. How do we design conversations with young people that gives them confidence? How do we begin to bring in men, like YZ Yao, like Hamza, and many others on the call that have made their voices known today, that can speak truth to power and can protect the space for women? Because if a woman says this, they'll say, oh, well, what is she going to say? She's female. But if a male who has been socialized to be a man comes and says, but you know what? There's no equity here, there is no justice. Because let's face it, Nigeria cannot be telling us that they want to be amongst the 20 best countries in the world. It was supposed to be 2020. Now we're looking at 2050. It still will not happen if we hold back 50% of our population. It's not going to happen. And because COVID-19 has shown us that there's a hidden pandemic that we need to pay attention to. And that hidden pandemic is, like the first panel said, the relationship that this country has with its women and its children, because girls and boys also suffered at the heart of the lockdown. So how do we begin to engage our communities, our societies, and the family? The structure of the family needs to change for us to be able to encourage and find that new confidence that Dr. Sana was talking about. Because if a girl is only seen to be commoditized or commodified as somebody who's going to be sold off one way or another and become somebody's wife, and so she has no value, we have lost it. Because if people are going to be very honest, Chair, most of those who hold the home today are women. most of our parents will tell you that their daughters take better care of them than their sons do. Because the sons are also oppressed by patriarchy. The sons don't even have a voice to be able to say, look, I need to do other things for my family. I need to do other things for myself. There's so much expectation. A man cannot fail. A man cannot cry. Who says a man cannot cry? Let that man cry, mana. Because when he cries, he will see things a whole lot more clearly. So as we're thinking about technology and we're engaging the private sector and we're engaging the public sector, we must also ask ourselves, how do we change the narrative at the family level? And dear Chair, this is why curriculum is very important to me, because when we catch them young and people understand that the things that they're learning, the way they see themselves, the dignity they have is also the same dignity they should give to other people, then things will begin to change. The final thing I'd like to speak to, Chair, is that we need to advocate for investment in science and tech and engineering and mathematics. That point was made in the first panel. Because when you begin to have consciousness and intentional equity by always asking the question, how many girls are enrolled in this school? How many labs does this school have? How many boys are enrolled in this school? How many labs does this school have? Then we'll begin to ensure that our resources are applied in a way that is equitable, that gives to everyone what they need. I always love to tell the story of a time when I was an advisor to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, who still is very gender aware. And they brought the budget for education to EXCO. And there was money in home economic schools for girls, and there was money in boys' school for computer lab. And then one of the gentlemen looked at me and said, Amina, see, we have given you money. We're doing your gender thing. See the plenty money we put for home economics. I looked at the brother and I smiled. I did it. I was very disappointed and shocked and worried in my mind, but I knew that half of the battle is communication. Half of it is the case you need to make. So when it came to debating the budget, I called up the education directorate and I thanked them for putting money in girls' school for home economics, thanked them for putting money in computer lab for boys. And then I said to them, but you know, sometimes even when we go to these hotels, the chefs are men. And so there's no reason why we shouldn't allow all our children, regardless of their gender, to aspire. If you put money for home economics lab in a girls' school, it will be brilliant, therefore, for you to put money for home economics lab in a boys' school. Therefore, as you've done this excellent investment in a computer lab in a boys' school, you should therefore also have a computer lab in a girls' school. Then the minister said, what? What? Are you telling me there's no money for computer lab in a boys' school? Change this budget now. And I laughed. I had gotten what I wanted. The fight did not come from me. And that policy became what it is. And I hope it is the same way till now in the Federal Capital Territory. So we need to engage all spaces where we can, because it's very important we make the point about expanding the space for our daughters, and education matters, and the quality of that education matters. And there has to be room for second chance education. My final point on this matter, therefore, Chair, is just because a girl or a boy has not been to school does not mean they cannot be part of the new digital age. How do we, and this is my question now to our two panelists, how do we support men, women, boys, girls who have not been to school, but who must still be prepared for the new age of artificial intelligence, of machine learning, but they do not know the tech from the book point of view? What can we do to ensure that their lives can still be changed and that they can be part of this journey that we all must embark upon together? I thank you very much for the opportunity of listening, and Chair for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Amina. Thank you very much for these brilliant interventions you've made. So over to, because our time, I don't want us to exceed our time, over to our dear panelists. But before then, I want to read some of the tests we have here. Somebody said something. Thank you, ma'am, Mrs. Toyosi. Your presentation always inspired me. I was Bell University, I suggest that our presenters should organize mentorship club so that you will be raising more young girls to be like you. give them hope and support as well. Please, this is from Abubakar Ismail. Please, can you take that and respond to it? Somebody is asking for presentation, we'll get presentation. Somebody is thanking Toyosi for data-driven session. And I think there's the last point about the collaboration of boys and girls is very important, because in most offices today, there's break in communication between boys and girls. We seem to have caucus of girls trying to outsmart the guys, which is very unnecessary. We can all collaborate as a team, be the head of girl or boy. The key word is collaboration, and eliminate unnecessary competitions. So you can also want to speak on that. Somebody said about stereotype. This is from Chinwe. Stereotyping, I have had this argument with people. Thank you for mentioning it, Toyosi. As a STEM advocate, teaching girls to code has been a real joy. They start off very timid and not sure why they are there, afraid of even touching the computer or component. Eventually, they rise and even surprise themselves. We need to keep working to first break the mental barrier. This is key to innovation. So those are some of the comments that have come up, and some of the questions that we need. Somebody has said, well done once again, Dr. Mina. Let's find our personal voices, be role models to other women, and we matter in the digital world. Thank you, ma'am, for the chat, and for that. We can have mentorship platform for young females. It will go a long way. Is Ibukola Omotola that said that. There's another thing she said. One of the most important things to say about the gender data gap is that it is not generally malicious or even deliberate. Quite the opposite. It is simply the product of a way of thinking that has been around for millennia and is therefore a kind of not thinking. A double not thinking, even men go without saying and women don't get said at all. Because when we say human on the whole, we mean man. So please, these are comments that we have seen online, and I had questions, and Dr. Mina has questions. So over to Toyosi, please.
Yes, and my sister chair, forgive me, I wanted to thank Olubukola Adesina as well, because they have put up the link to Invisible Women that I said was given to me by a male mentor. Dr. Kole Shetima actually got me a copy of this book. So please, so if colleagues can also look to that link and see about Invisible Women. And the point they make is very true. It's a way that has been around for a long time. We've been told we shouldn't be seen or heard. And that is why people, even when they have a chance, they are afraid to take that chance. It's our duty to help people take the first step.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, my sister. Now, Sister Toyosi, vibrant woman and a mentor. Please go ahead and tell us what you think about the questions and the comments.
Well, I mean, thank you very much, Madam Chair, but I'd also like to thank everyone who's made time to join this very important conversation this afternoon, and the very warm, encouraging comments I've seen in the chat. I'm reading all the messages, and I'm very grateful, and I'm thankful to the women who continue to validate some of the positions I've shared. The first thing that I wanted to draw attention to, Madam Chair, you said something that I heard, and I really wanted to comment on it. You said if you are a woman and you have to climb walls, climb a building, will your husband allow you to do that? I wanted to say to you, Ma, that the code of practice of safety and health in construction recognizes equality and equitable access for both men and women. If a man climbs a building and falls down to the ground, he would die, just like a woman would die if the same thing happens. Women are not taking a bigger risk by going into construction work. I'd like for you to refer to the story of a 25-year-old bricklayer in Norfolk. Her name is Darcy Richards. She's been training on for the last couple of months, inspiring a lot of young girls because her father has been a bricklayer for 30 years. And she's one daughter out of three, along with three brothers that her father has raised alone as a single dad. When you show the story of Darcy Richards, 25-year-old bricklayer, to other girls, girls need to know that they have a right to choose any profession and career. And women really don't need the permission of anybody to become anything that they really want to be. And I think that's the mindset that, women need to have, which I continue to teach my daughter. And from that, I want to go to a very important research that I've read time and again. Perhaps if I read it again tomorrow, maybe it'll be the 17th time. It's a research material called On the Shoulder of the Spouses of Scientists. One of the big deals that we underestimate is the social and emotional environment of science on scientists. Because science dwells on research, on constant reading in a kind of atmosphere. So when you speak about people like Pierre Curie, Alan Expert, Isaac Newton, there's a type of environment where science does thrive. And one of the things that history does not amplify and accentuate a lot is the fact that a lot of the models, the physics models that Pierre Curie wrote as a physics scientist were written by his wife, Marie Curie. And that's why she's the only human being in world history who won the Nobel Prize for Science twice. It's important to not, erase the role of women. I'm very particular about erasure and the fact that even women need to ensure that society does not steal their thunder. When a man walks into a room, he announces himself. Women are always saying, oh, I don't want them to feel. It's okay for anybody to really feel how they want to feel. What I wouldn't do is to not discount the role that men play in society. One of the most important books I've read in my career as a woman is a book written by Gail Evans, who started as a receptionist in CNN and is currently the vice president. Play like a man, win like a woman. Women would go further having men as collaborators and co-creators than simply hating on men because they believe that, it should not be an unhealthy rivalry. We need men to thrive. And that's why we need more he for she's, because it's easier for a man to convince more men to support another woman to come on board than if the woman tries to do that by trying to, bully the men. So the code of practice on safety and health in construction is, understands equitable access and equity for women. I wanted to speak about placing a premium on practical when it comes to science, technology, engineering, and math. We must understand that science and technology is a completely different kettle of fish from social sciences and arts. I was an art student for a long time, and it took me a while to transition into science and tech. But I think it's the best career decision I've ever made because the discoveries for malaria, the discoveries for HIV and AIDS, the people who are going to develop the vaccines, the entire world transformation is dependent on science. And it's important that CEOs of banks and private organizations, oil and gas companies, begin to be more intentional about diversity and inclusion in their teams. I'll give you an example. Apple's health safety kit designed a product, and they forgot themselves that 50% of those products they did not even factor a period tracker into an Apple safety health kit. Every woman in the world will see their period at some point. But Apple designed an entire health kit and did not put a period tracker for women. Research has shown that 47% of women are likely to die more than men if they're involved in road accidents, because automobiles are designed by men and the design thinking frameworks are created by men. Now, we need to begin to show companies the profits and the benefit of having women teams or even women-led teams, the importance and the significance of diversity and inclusion. If you tell Toyota that you will sell your car, your profit this year was 60%. You can sell 75% more in 2022 if your product design is more gender focused and with more reduced bias. Toyota will listen to us, but it's the advocacy around this subject matter. It's the fact that we're not centering women enough. The narrative around women in technology is still reduced to she's the vice president for marketing. Women must not be afraid to go. I took a career leap at 35 to go and start learning how to code. And one of the key things I also want to talk about is the fact that we're focusing too much on, it's important to catch them young, but it's also important to start from where you are. Whenever you wake up is your morning. We're seeing people that made a difference at 24 and died at 48. And we're seeing people who never figured out what their careers would be until they were 51. And they became heroes until they died at 92. So we must look for an opportunity and a platform for a cross-fertilization of ideas across board, from the older women to the middle-aged women to the younger girls. Because the experience of the middle-aged women cannot be bought on the shelf. And the authority of experience of the older women will enrich the perspectives and the insights of the young girls. So we need to also tell women that it's important to learn. I like what the person spoke about. The person talked about mentorship clubs. There's a lot of social interaction that excludes women naturally. So there are clubs in the world, or in fact, there are clubs in Lagos where women don't go to. Women cannot participate in politics as effectively as they'd like to because they fix the meetings at 10 or 11 p.m. in the night. So, for example, I want to close the conversation by saying that the most important career decision any woman would ever make is the man that you marry. If you marry a gardener, if you marry a scavenger, what a scavenger does is that it takes a woman without any potential and continues to feed on a lack of potential, which means that you are a woman with SSCE, your husband is a PhD holder, and it continues to oppress you because of your lack of opportunity, your lack of education, or your lack of access. If you marry a hunter is, what does a hunter do? You find things that are alive and kill them dead. Those are the men that marry women with great potential and capacity. And then you see some women who are smart and bright when they were single, and you stop hearing of them when they get married. When you marry a gardener, what do gardeners do? Gardeners tend to their gardens and allow them to flourish and blossom. Women can never discount the role that marriage and society is going to play in their careers. If you are going to go to a meeting, when I was going to Boston to take my master, my husband took a 1-year break and decided to take 6 months of work without pay, 6 months of work without pay. My husband works in the technology space as well, but he went to MIT to do fellowship programs so that I could resume in Harvard with my 5.5-month-old daughter, who I was still breastfeeding. And it didn't stop me from being a star student at Harvard, being elected the VP for International Affairs, traveling 12 countries in 1 year, joining 8 different clubs, being one of the favorite students at HKS, speaking and delivering keynotes across the Harvard Business School and the School of Public Health, and also getting pregnant 4 months to my graduation. So women can come full circle and accomplish everything. Nothing must give way for the other. Your career does not need to fail because you want to be married. And your marriage does not need to fail because you want to succeed in your career. But we must understand that the limitations that are placed on women are the stereotypes of, should a woman climb up? Should a woman go to a meeting at 11 p.m.? A woman and a man are both at risk. In this day and age, we understand the issues of rape and sexual violence against women. But while we're advocating for that, we must also continue to advocate for a much more safer, environment where women are allowed to thrive equally on a level playing field, as much as men. And I want to close around the subject of global competitiveness and the role that, key technologies like machine learning. We are hearing things like people don't want technology in the public service. Civil servants are afraid of technology because it will erode their jobs. Private companies are afraid that jobs are going to be cut because of technology. That's not true, because machines need human beings to train them to think. Your mobile phone is created by human beings, and the most effective departments in techno, in Apple, in all those companies are the product design departments. And when you bring the emotional intelligence of a woman into product design, you would see more sensitivity when products start. Are you aware that there are mobile phones that are too big for the hands of an average woman? And these things are because women are not put in the room are not given the opportunity of sharing perspective and insight when products are designed. The lack of adequate training of women, the overall perceptions of the risk that women stand when they work in certain sectors is what is reducing women to home economics and nurses, while we're forgetting that they have equal opportunity, equal capacity. I think that in closing, the three things that I'd like for us to use to choose women that should be given opportunity of leadership or invention or creating of anything should be competence, character, and capacity. The women should be allowed to figure it out themselves, how they can manage the home front and their careers side by side, but none should stand in the way of the other. I thank you very much for listening. If
Thank you very much.
questions,
Thank you. You have spoken passionately, and we got it. Is competence, character, and the capacity. Over to you, Dr. Muaz. Sana.
Okay,
Dr. Sana. Yeah, okay,
yes.
please.
So
make your intervention. We're about to close. Our closing is at the top of the hour. Thank you.
Talking about children at the north, how they access internet, how they even been deprived from the secondary school to get married. At least from the awareness that is being given to this kind of children, there are lots of changes in the north, because if you come to the university, if you see the proportion of the girl child and the boys, we don't seem to have a lot of difference in the School of Computing, talking about BUK, ATB, ABU. There are lots of students that are female taking cybersecurity courses, aeronautics engineering, petroleum engineering. But the case is not from the university, it is after the university. When they are out of challenge, how do they face this challenge as women? Because they want to get married, they need to give birth, they need to set up a family. So the most important is they should bear in mind that you have your career, you have your life, and the career initiates the life. Whenever you don't have the career to initiate this life, so you end up having nothing at the end. There are two things that can never be the same. You have your life, you have something to achieve, and you have everything that accomplishes that achievement at the ball of your hand. So you need to encourage yourself, and you need to follow the footsteps that will get you to the right path, not thinking about what people are saying or what others will be saying. And for this mentorship, we have one group called Black Women. We normally go to the colleges at the end of the session, secondary school, to interact with the final year student, to showcase our potential. Most of the colleagues in the academia used to be there, so that you show them how potential the course is, talking about physics, chemistry, technology, mathematics. This is the only way you will encourage the girl child to know that when she's going to the internet, when she's going online, she's not supposed to be going anyhow or anywhere. There are some certain aspects she needs to see. When going to YouTube, you are not just there to watch movies, to make unnecessary comments. You should have a good intention of going there to see lots of professionals that talks about career guidance, career building, how to go about it, how to be guided in order to inspire for you to aspire.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, Toyosi. Thank you, my sister, Dr. Amina. And thank you everyone that have joined in this conversation. I hope our rapporteurs have taken note of some of the things we are going to put in the communique. And this time around, the communique will not just end with NIGF. It should get to the stakeholders in the academia, or in the academia group, the private sector group, all our bankers and CBN. Now they are talking about Naira. I don't know whether women are taking along with them. It should go to our politicians. This communique should get to our tech take women like Funka Opeke, those that are up there. I want our communique to go to Folorunsho, Shaw, Dr. Lakija, or Professor Lakija, or Apostle Lakija. Let her know that there are other women. She's the richest woman in the world or in Africa. So let her know that there are other women, that upcoming ones, and there are other people that have started community work where we should partner. All right, so CITAD, we're also challenging that the communique that is coming out of this conversation should not end with us. It shouldn't be on the shelf, it should move. By the time we come again, according to Dr. Amina, we should be able to track what we have done with those communiques. These are conversations. Where have we taken it to? Have we started the mentorship club? Are we carrying on with what Dr. Sana has just told us about getting to the secondary schools to teach, to mentor young people, not only girls, but boys and girls? Are we talking to parents so that they should be able to value both boys and girls? It's not when you have a baby boy, everybody, they clap and rejoice. When it's a baby girl, you clap and rejoice so much, but they rejoice more when it's a baby boy. I don't know. So those are things that I think we should be looking at. Thank you. I don't know whether Dr. YZ is there. If you have a 1 minute thank you to say to our panelists, the organizers, IGF, as well as our moderators. Dr. Sana, thank you. Toyosi, thank you. And our chairman and other people that have that took the first panel session. Thank you. Dr. Amina, please, thank you. If YZ is not available, I will charge you, please, to help Dr. YZ. Thank you very much. Dr. YZ, are you here? Can you speak? If not, YZ cannot speak. My sister Amina, you are part of us. CITAD, please. You can close us. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chairman. I would only echo your words of gratitude and the reminders about the fact that these matters we're talking about are so very important. They matter. We cannot play around with them. And the key to our success is actually centering the lives of women. That's the key to the success. We can't leave behind a great chunk of our population and expect to grow. We cannot, sir. And we have begun a conversation today, and I'm sure it's going to be a continuing dialogue. CITAD has brought us all together to have this important conference. But the ball is also in our courts in terms of what we do with the learning in our independent or individual spaces, as well as what we do collaboratively with other people. And the point has been made today that one person cannot do it alone. We need to find partnerships. We need to build partnerships, and we need to ensure that those partnerships drive the new norms that we need to see. Tech is a new way of working, but some things remain the same. They cannot change. And that is the sanctity and the dignity of human life. And so everything we're doing is about improving the value of the lives of human beings, women and their families, because it is a smart thing to do. And on behalf of our chair, all of our panelists, all of the colleagues who have facilitated this conversation today, as well as, of course, the team members at CITAD, I would like to say a very big thank you for the opportunity of working with you and of being part of this conversation today. And I hope that this will be the beginning of greater things to come. And yes, Chair, I really meant it when I said next year, let us see what we see the Gender Forum take forward, so that it is not just another talk shop, but a workshop that can actually lead to a lot of growth, a lot of, if you will, change. And I like the point you made, Chair, about taking this communique far and wide. I think that is so very important, because we cannot be winking in the dark. We cannot be winking in the dark. We're winking in the dark when those who should know about our efforts do not know about our efforts. So it's an honor to thank you all for attending this Internet Governance Forum on behalf of the Center for Information Technology and Development, CTAD. Thank you so very much, and enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you've joined us from your neck of the woods. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you, and see you next year. Bye.
Bye.